Hello and welcome to another episode of the Elbows Down MotoGP podcast. My name is Alex Higginson. Once again, I'm joined by Jimmy Harrison.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
We're a bit delayed, aren't we, with this? But you've had a Glastonbury, haven't you? So
I have, So we missed our Mugello sort of debrief last week, which is annoying because Mugello is probably our favourite circuit, joint favourite circuit, isn't it? You know, we went there in 2022. We obviously did a massive build-up to Mugello as well because we absolutely love it, but we did miss the debrief because I was in Somerset. But we're going to sort of do a little bit about that now. Obviously, people that are watching this, you'll have seen all sorts of podcasts or that sort of thing about Mugello already, so we're not going to talk too much about it, but we are going to talk about a few of the highlights. Obviously, we're going to talk about Assen as well, which has happened while I was away, which was an amazing weekend yet again. It's funny because we had I always bang on about this, we had two of the best attended Grand Prix with Jerez and Le Mans, and then we had two of the worst attended Grand Prix with Silverstone and Aragon, and then now we've got two of the best ones back with Mugello and Assen.
Like literally the best Mugello attendance phrase. It was pretty much double the crowd we had in 22, which is obviously it was a year after Valentino retired.
It's amazing, watching Mugello and looking at places where we were sat. When we were sat in the main grandstand. I mean, it was busy in the main grandstand in 2022. Obviously, like Jimmy says, the year after Valentino retired, but it was crazy busy there on the Sunday, especially Saturday and Sunday, and even for the rest of the weekend on the Friday as well. And looking at other places where we sat around the track at Mugello, wow, unbelievable! On the hill where we were, on the hills surrounding the track, obviously with it being in a sort of natural kind of arena kind of thing,
like an
amphitheatre. It was amazing to see so many fans back there, and obviously a lot of those fans are there for the Marc Marquez effect, and a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are there simply to shit on him once again. So we're going to talk a bit about that in a moment. We're also going to talk a bit about Assen. Do a little bit of silly season stuff because there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment that is relatively common knowledge. There's a few things out there as well that maybe there's a bit more conjecture to them. There's not so much going on as far as that's concerned, but a few little nibbles that we've got. We do want to start off this episode. So today is Thursday the 3rd of July that we're recording this. Unfortunately, just before we recorded this episode, we got some really horrible news from France. Unfortunately, former Moto2 rider Borja Gomez has been involved in a really serious crash during the Thursday session of the Spanish Superstock Championship at Magny-Cours, and unfortunately, he's passed away. So that's incredibly sad. It's always horrible in this sport because obviously it's one of those sports where this sort of thing can happen at any given moment. And we remember Borja Gomez from his 2022 replacement ride, at Sepang, when he rode for Flexbox HP40, replacing Jorge Navarro. And we saw him for pretty much a full season in 2023, racing for Fantic. Which was the last time we saw him in Moto2, and then he's been racing in Spanish Superbike up until now. So our thoughts are with him, his family, everyone. It's happened literally today.
Literally minutes before while we're doing our notes to this podcast. So it's bloody awful. So thoughts go out to his family, himself, and everyone involved with his career.
This is a man who, 20 years old, rising star. He won the last few races. He won a few of the last races
in that series,
that series running up to this weekend, and he made it very obvious that he wanted to get back to Grand Prix paddock and into MotoGP eventually. So it's dreadful.
It's rough
20 years old, for crying out loud. But unfortunately, that's the majority of the guys that are racing in this.
He was still absolutely of age. Exactly, of age to get into. And a lot of people do still make their way into Grand Prix racing competitively through these other series, even if he had already been Moto2. But
so Borja Gomez, really, really, really sad, and yeah, it's always tough to see these bits of news.
So, hats off to everyone involved if they're still racing that week in that team, if that happens. But, thoughts go out there. So, sorry about that, folks. We thought we can't not mention it just before this pod. And plus, this is a bit of a late review anyway. It doesn't matter because we've all got lives. And I've actually seen a lot of other podcasts have been spacing them out recently, which makes no odds as long as the content isn't gibberish, I guess.
What, like ours?
We actually did more for the Mugello preview than we'll probably have time for. We'll have time for this review. As soon as we stop recording this, we've got an interview. Which will go out next week or early in the weekend, we'll see. But anyway, that's another conversation. Alex, you mentioned, I really want to talk about this quickly because this is still going on and probably will go on for the rest of the season. Talk about Marquez and people loving to hate him in Mugello, sort of thing.
Yeah.
These chants do derive from 2015. Let's just not beat around the bush. Because why else? I mean, yes, you could say they're going to boo him anyway because he's not Italian. He's winning a race that an Italian won the last 3 of. But then obviously Tadozzi took it really personally. And usually you think these people, these professionals, it's just fans booing, just let them get on with it. It doesn't change anything. Marc's not affected. But Tadozzi really did not like that.
Well, he kicked off big time. I mean, obviously, Tadozzi being not just Marc's boss but also Pecco's boss, who wasn't necessarily a favourite going into the weekend with all the problems that Pecco's had. But all that booing would be justified if Marc had pulled a dirty move on Pecco and had... looking back to Mugello, that incredible battle that we saw between Marquez and Pecco, and all I was thinking, well, not all I was thinking, I was thinking, fucking hell, this is an incredible race. Yeah. We're seeing history here, this is incredible. But one of the things that was in the back of my mind was, for God's sake, Marc, do not pull a dirty move on him. Do not knock him off, even if it's like a racing incident sort of thing. I was like, for God's sake, do not knock him off, because that would be we've got another 10 years of fuel on the fire for the Marquez hatred at Mugello.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Tadozzi quite rightly was kicking off with the fans saying, he's in red as well. He's Ducati.
Yeah.
And interestingly, after Marquez won the race, he was not flying his usual Marquez flag. He wasn't flying a Spanish flag. He was flying a Ducati flag on his cool-down lap. So
I think my dad we were watching with the dad, and he's like, we were saying that, weren't we? We could tell straight away that was definitely a
ploy.
Dad was like shaking his head like, no, it wasn't. I was like, well, what else was it? Because Marc never ever has had a Ducati Corsa flag. I don't think so, not to my knowledge, when he's won a race. He never did for Honda, unless it was maybe in Japan, like an anniversary thing, and he won. But Marc does not do that. Good. We were just checking if we were...
I've already checked it, man. Trust me.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that was definitely playing. Fair play to Marc. He's smiling assassin and subtly doing that, basically.
Yeah, which was perfect. It was classic Marc as well. And too right. I mean, he's had his... it's no secret that Marc Marquez has had a really fucking horrible time since 2020. Yeah. So, fair play to him. This is his comeback season. Arguably last year was part of his comeback season. It was sort of the pre-come to his comeback season. And then now we're seeing history. And even the riders that we expect to win are getting beaten by him. Yeah. So, I mean, you are seeing one of the greatest riders of all time doing what he does best. And if you're going to boo someone for being the best at what they do, then I think you need to change sport.
Yeah. I think some people have argued. They might have a point here. It's just what the Italians have always done anyway. Like when Lorenzo used to win, who hasn't had a history of taking out Valentino or anything like that, or forcing him to a mistake or forcing him to do something. Lorenzo just beat him fair and square now and again. Now Lorenzo won, I remember, in Misano 2009. This is still at the height of Rossi's powers, and he just got completely booed, almost off the podium, just because he beat Rossi in the race fair and square. I think it was either 08 or 09 where Lorenzo won there, and they didn't take it very kindly. I think in 2010 as well, in Mugello, when Rossi just broke his leg, Lorenzo thought, I'll put a VR46 t-shirt on. And he got in trouble for that because it covered up the Fiat logo at their home Grand Prix. But Rossi's in a documentary years later said that I wasn't happy with that. Actually, no, because I'm not a friend of Lorenzo's. I don't need him to do that for me. But so it didn't even matter that a Spaniard was actually paying homage to an Italian. They still hated it, and Rossi hated it. So it'll always go on, folks. Even if Tardozzi thinks, "No, he's right." It's not like Ferrari. I was saying the week. It's a shame that in car racing, if you drive the red Ferrari, if you drive for the Scuderia, you are one of theirs. You will always be one of theirs. Like Hamilton was not liked winning, dominating Mercedes. As soon as he announced a Ferrari, he was their son. That's how it works in the car racing. It's weird. It's in bikes. It's just the rider.
Yeah, but exactly the same things happened in MotoGP with Honda to Ducati for Marc, and he's still hated by the Italians.
This is what I mean. It's they don't care. It's not like I don't think the Italians are in love with Ducati as much as they're in love with Ferrari. It's obviously a different clientele, shall we say? Whereas Ferrari is loved throughout all Italy. I would say that. I would hazard a guess. But Ducati as the bikes, yeah. But it is still a shame because Marc did again 2 perfect weekends more or less back to back with Assen, and 2 tracks where I didn't think he would have it all his own way, and he didn't in a way. In Mugello, he had to fight in that battle we were talking about. He had to fight really hard, to the point where he pushed Pecco wide a few times. Pecco pushed him wide a few times. It was a fair battle, but in Assen, I really didn't think Marc would be the one at all. No, I thought it'd be that Alex Marquez would still be there. I still didn't think Pecco would be there, but I thought Fabio would be there. I didn't really see Bez being as strong as he did, but I'm exceptionally happy that he was.
And Bez, seems to be. I mean, he's going back to his 2023 form, if you ask me. At the moment, Bez he had such a tough year at VR46.
Yeah,
last year, and now he's back on an inferior bike on the Aprilia, and his Assen results were really amazing. I mean, middle of the second row, podiums in both sprint and race. I mean, he had a really, really strong weekend at Assen, and obviously, MotoGP as well. It's Mugello P5 in the main race.
Yeah.
And also P6 in the sprint. Bez. We're seeing Bez come back finally. Yeah. What I loved at Mugello was afterwards when he was sort of in the podium area.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a podium at Mugello, but he was like P5. That's a win for me. And had all the fans doing the track invasion, which we couldn't do in 2022 because of the Moto E race. When he sort of turned his back to the crowd and threw himself into them,
brilliant.
And crowd surfed through the crowd. I mean, imagine being one of those fans and having Marco Bezzecchi land on you.
I know. What a story to go back home and tell. Yeah,
I touched Marco Bezzecchi's ass.
Brilliant. That was the.
My wife would love that.
It was the Mugello of old, isn't it? Now that we've got double the fans there, it was the Mugello of old, to be fair. And it's just nice to be able to see the fans invade the track after the race and not have a Moto E race straight after.
Fucking Moto E race, go away.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've seen as well, pyrotechnics. Hell of a lot of pyrotechnics going on this year. So last year I remember there being a lot of pyrotechnics at Kota to a point where turn 1, going up the hill into turn 1, you basically couldn't see the bikes coming up the hill because of all the pyrotechnics. But Mugello, loads of pyrotechnics there. I'm on about smoke bombs and flares and that sort of stuff going off. And at Assen, I mean, there were points at Assen where the riders, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been a Gura riding through a flare, riding through a smoke grenade. Like, I can't see.
I don't remember that, but ironically, I remember when you always get the warm-up lap, don't you, with Mugello? You always see flares go from the warm-up lap, and it just makes it look even hotter than it actually is.
Especially now that it's a lot of red flares,
as
opposed to all the yellow ones that.
They used to the previous
years. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot more. I think this is one of those years where we're starting to see the rebuild of MotoGP's fan base. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think
we had that horrible lull from 2022 to last year, where you'd see 50,000 in attendance. You'd see maybe 80,000 in attendance somewhere like Mugello. The places where you expect there to be, 110,000 for race day sort of thing. Yeah. When we were there in 2021 at Silverstone, when it was like 100,000, 110,000 people there to see Rossi's last race at Silverstone. And now that I think we've got this, but there is definitely you cannot get away from the fact that there is definitely a Marc Marquez effect at the moment.
There is, I don't think it affects. It doesn't affect UK. I don't give a shit, but also the fact that if it was just Marc, I think it could be doing the opposite effect that it is. I think it's also the fact that now everyone keeps thinking about new rules, so they watch the current era anyway, and you've got Fabio doing well again, you've got Bez doing well again. This is all helping, but Marc winning again actually it's turning off. Actually, it is making some people turn off TV. But in general, over the rest of the world, I think, having him win again, having the superstar of the sport win again, some people it puts people off, but a lot of people like watching dominance because they finally see.
People call it boring when there's no definitive winner, when there's no definitive rider doing well. People call it boring. Then when there's someone dominating the sport, then they call it boring.
Yeah, you can't win.
Change sport. Yeah. Go watch something else. Piss off.
And by the way, this does sound a bit depressing, but there's every chance that someone, if it's Marc or not, will dominate after 27. Someone just clicks with a certain bike and have the good team around them. They can win 75% of the races.
You mean 2027 when Marc's back on the Honda?
Yeah, if that would happen. I think he'll go beyond his contract with Ducati, but I still think he'll go back to Honda. But yeah, it doesn't matter. It could still be boring. When someone's that good and they have a good team around them, they're very hard to beat.
I'm sorry, but we've seen races this year where it's Marc Alex, Marc Alex, Marc Alex, Marc Alex.
Yeah.
Yes, we have seen that a lot.
Yeah.
But we have seen some incredible battles.
Yeah, we have. But people forget that.
We're still banging on Mugello.
Yeah.
Mugello, that battle between the Marquez brothers and Bagnaia was just insane. And we knew that Pecco was going to come out the worst of it. We knew that he wasn't going to. He was definitely going to bring home a P3 at best. But that's beside the point. Yeah. We saw some incredible racing. Yeah. And it went on for 7 laps. I mean, usually
7 laps,
Usually after about 4 or 5 laps is when they sort of think, well, let's just back off a bit. Let's maintain tyre pressure. Let's chill out a bit. And then we'll see what the last 5 laps of the race is.
Pecco obviously took Rossi's old leaf out of the book. The whole rough him up.
The only way he can beat Marquez is to rough him up.
And that's why Pecco didn't give a shit about pressures, because he knew he had to keep shoving it up the inside of Marc and hoping it stuck. And most of the time it did stick. I wonder if it would have made any difference if Alex wasn't part of the battle. Because Alex did not hold back.
No, he didn't.
With Pecco. And this brings us on beautifully to this whole holding back with Marc. And actually being quite aggressive with everyone else.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people saying
I am one of the
he's allowing Marc to pass him, or he's not trying anything with Marc. He's not trying to pass Marc. Thing is, though, a lot of the time, I mean, it's maybe happened 3 times where it's looked maybe like, oh, you could have done something there, or you could have overtaken there, or you could have defended against him there to Alex. And to be honest, the vast majority of the time, Alex has been close, but not quite close enough.
That's because Marc's devastating on the brakes. But also, I think the likes of Valentino would have just done it. They would have just done it, because Valentino was very good on the brakes. There is other hard brakes.
Then you've had all this stupid crashing and dive bombing each other. And that's not how you win championships.
No,
at the end of the day, they're both leading a world championship. Why would you risk everything when you know that you can bring home a solid P2?
In the sprint, though, it did look obvious.
Alex did look
so much visually faster, and it's just come on.
At Assen.
Assen, yes, at sprint Assen. It did look so obvious. The fact where he had to roll off towards Ramchuk just before that fast left. It's like, you are so much quicker through here. And the go Timmy chicane, that's where you do it, and he still couldn't do it. But then again,
the final chicane.
But then again, Bez couldn't do it on race day. Bez was pretty much as close. I think Alex was closer in the sprint than Bez was in the race to Marc. But they are saying that, and Bez was saying as well, it is very narrow, Assen. But then if you have hard breakers that are doing well or in form, like Pecco is one of the hardest breakers in MotoGP, right?
Yeah.
He can't break as hard as he can right now. If Pecco was in battle with Marc, he would absolutely go for the inside. We've seen it before. We've seen it in his first ever battle with Marc at Aragon. He's able to fight when he can do it. It just sucks that he can't right now under the brakes. And then Bez is not bad under the brakes. Alex Marquez is not bad, but then Marc is just unbelievable. So maybe that's it. They're getting up, alongside, or about to, and just as they think, oh yeah, I'll go for it. Marc's already still on the throttle, or he's sat up, but he's backing it in, trail braking. There's no way they can get past. But sometimes you just got to take those risks and just shove it up the inside, block pass, But then obviously Alex is thinking, no, I don't want to take my brother out.
Yeah.
And then be in trouble with Ducati Corsa, and then Bez takes a win, or Fabio Quartararo takes a win. It is a bit of a dilemma right now. But I think what Matt Oxley said a couple of months ago, he said, this won't last forever.
No.
Two brothers, first and second, most weekends, it just, by law of averages, it just won't last forever.
Yeah. Let's talk about Moto3, Moto2 at Mugello, then we're going to talk about Assen. Moto3, Max Kielers, first win.
Yep.
He missed the first part of the season because he was too young.
Yeah, already.
Max Kielers, I mean, this is the guy that, speaking of Marc Marquez, is under the, what are they called, the Ascension management, or whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez's management team.
Yeah.
So Max Kielers, amazing first win for him. Two rookies. He won, well, technically 3 rookies on the podium. If you count Dennis Foggia.
Yeah.
Brilliant to see Foggia come back. I mean, he was so chuffed. I mean, his interview on the podium with, it was either Elliot York or Jack Appleyard, I can't remember, doesn't matter. His interview, and he was just like, I'm back. I was like, oh, so good. So good, because he struggled so much for his 2 years at Moto2. He was awesome in Moto3, but never really made it work. So he was always like a runner-up. He was always the bridesmaid, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But now to see him back up being a bridesmaid rather than just a guest.
With this, he is back, but I mean, just a sec, folks, because I'm just going to Google his age, because at the moment...
He must be about 50 by now.
At the moment, with the current crop of who's coming through, he could forever be the bridesmaid.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a winner of the race too, definitely. I mean, he's 24 years old. He's 25 next year, so he's still got another.
He's still a bairn, another
3 years, basically, in MotoGP, if you wanted to.
Yeah. But yeah, Kilo's Carpe and Foggia on the podium for Moto3.
Yeah.
Alvaro Carpe is definitely not the. We're definitely not going to be seeing anything less than quality from Carpe and from Kielers.
Yeah.
Foggia is probably going to be a little bit more inconsistent, but I mean, still awesome for him.
By the looks of it, the likes of Carpe is looking more consistent than Piqueras at the moment as well.
Yeah. Piqueras is. Yeah, this is it. I mean, even at Assen, Piqueras is really, really not doing what we thought he would do. We thought it was going to be a 2-horse race between Rueda and Piqueras, and maybe have a couple of the rookies throwing in a little bit here and there as well.
With some Munoz seasoning.
Yeah, with a bit of Munoz seasoning. Yeah. Well, to be honest, we weren't talking about Munoz at all before the start of the season. We were just cool, Munoz is going to turn up, do really, really well in the race, and then take someone out. But Munoz is maturing really, really well, and we keep banging on about it. Every single pod for the last 3 or 4 pods we've said, look, Munoz is something's changed in his brain. But anyway, going back to Piqueras, I really, really thought that we'd be seeing a lot more from Piqueras, and we did at the beginning of the year. Now we're sort of halfway through the season. Well, we're getting towards the halfway point anyway. Piqueras seems to be really, really strong. I don't know why.
No, I don't. Because he's on a better bike now, arguably. Whether it's a better organised team, I wouldn't say the team isn't as good, I think. But.
And he's basically been given... It's basically a given that he's going to be on a Moto2 bike next year for the same team.
Yeah.
So surely...
It's the same team Ortola rode for, correct?
Yes.
So actually, no. I mean, you can't blame the team.
And Garcia.
Yeah. This team is a well-oiled machine, to be fair. So no, you can't blame the team. But it could be just that he could be the next year he'll do a Rueda this season. He'll be that good in his 3rd year. So second sophomore, as you'd call it.
I won't call it a second sophomore. What would you call it in your 3rd year?
No, I've just made it up.
Yeah. God knows.
But yeah, I am really impressed with Carpe's consistency at the moment, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he was very, very, very close to the podium in Assen as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just he's just back to back brilliant. Is Carpe. Yeah, so I mean, Keylaz. I don't know what the hell happened to Keylaz in Assen, but we'll go on to that in a minute. Moto2 for Mugello. Let's just give me brain a quick jog here. Yeah, Alberto Arenas on the podium. He had a really strong weekend.
Yeah.
Really strong weekend.
Again.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like, what's this? His fifth season in
yes.
2020 world champion in Moto3.
Then he moved up to Moto2 in 21.
21. Yeah. So this will be his. Yeah. Fucking hard to do the maths for that. So.
That's a
yeah, it's his fifth.
Five. I can't count to five, and you can't count to four. Brilliant.
I can't count to four. Yeah, brilliant. Why do people follow this podcast? We can't even do maths. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Moto2, Arenas. I mean, he's had a few podiums here and there. He's shown it every now and again, but hopefully he can find some consistency now. I mean, he's always had a good team behind him. I mean, he was at KTM before as well. You know, he's always had a good team behind him.
Yeah, he's done well team-wise. A lot of people say, it's because he's Spanish. Well, yeah, it will have helped him, but at the same time, he's been a world champion, and he's fought for championships before that. So, I mean, right now, I think he's probably saved himself for next year, at the very least, as someone like Arenas. But moving on. About
time Gonzalez came back to form. I'm really, really glad. He had a couple of odd moments in the run-up to Mugello.
Well, with Mugello, yeah, I mean, that was a very, very good win. That was awesome. Convincingly good win. Like, the lead. I mean, the shame of it for him, was for him was the fight for P2. Was it fight for P3? Was so much more entertaining than what was going at the front with him. Yeah. That fight for P2.
Yeah, Moreira and Canet again.
Well, it was, what was it? No, Moreira and Onshu in Aragon, wasn't it? And then obviously, so we've had Moreira involved in all three of these battles recently. Because that's a good home for MotoGP for Moreira. Because if you can fight hard in Moto2.
But they keep saying he's scrappy, and even when he was in Moto3, when he wasn't really, when he joined Moto3, and everyone was saying, he's going to be absolutely amazing, and then he was good, but he wasn't. But the thing is, his size and his stature, you just need a bit more horsepower.
Yeah.
And now he's got more horsepower. He's fucking amazing. Yeah. And then imagine put him on 1,000 or an 850, depending on what year, obviously. He's going to be incredible. But so the last three races we've seen Moreira scrapping with people, and the last two races, Assen and Mugello, has been with Canet. Yeah. And that battle between him and Canet. I mean, what's there between it? There is exactly a tenth of a second in between them. Nothing.
Canet hasn't really been. Well, Assen, to be fair, Moto2, he couldn't really pass Moreira back, could he? So it's not just MotoGP that they're struggling to pass on there. It's Moto2 as well. But
there's a bit of silly season.
Canet's never been the best overtaker, in my opinion. He's never been the best outbreaker, frankly.
He's very good at being defensive in the wrong place and allowing someone to pass him. And we saw it last year, didn't we, with Dixon a couple of times when Dixon won at Silverstone.
Yes.
And Canet could have and should have won that race, but Dixon passed him.
And it was the same too with 2023 at Catalonia.
Yes.
Canet was a sitting duck; he couldn't fight back really. But different circumstances. Moving on, Alex. From now, what we want to talk about these two races? What else do you want to talk about? Because we haven't really spoke about the form of Fabio
Quartararo. Yeah, good. I'm glad. I was just looking at that note as you said that. Yeah. So Fabio's got another pole position. He's the pole king of this year so far, if you ask me. I mean, he's just amazing. Yeah. So what's it now? He's got like 5 this year so far.
Maybe 4, but
maybe 4.
It wasn't a pole record, I don't think, at Assen, but it wasn't the pole.
So he didn't quite beat Pecco's pole from last year, but he was on pole nonetheless. And that now means that he's got more pole positions, I think, than Pecco Bagnaia.
Yeah.
20 pole positions he's got in his MotoGP career.
It's just a bit of it. It just sucks that obviously when he got pole at Silverstone, he didn't finish. just sucks that it's just annoying. And P10 in Netherlands, it's just not happening for him, is it?
It's just
pole at home. Didn't you get the pole? You've got pole at Le Mans as well, and Jerez.
I really think that we're going to see something special from Fabio. Maybe not the next round, and bear in mind that Fabio has won at Sachsenring, but at Brno, we've got a track, as you said quite rightly earlier on, no 200 km/h straights, no 200 mile an hour straights, and also we just had a MotoGP private test at Brno, which is where we basically saw all but I think one or two of the. I don't think Fabio was there. I don't think Miller was there, but everyone else was, Yamaha wise. Including their test team. Obviously, you've got Augusto Fernandez was there, brand new Yamaha test rider Andrea Dovizioso. Don't know if anyone knows who he is, but Dovi. Amazing to see Dovi there. Now, we'll just briefly touch on the Yamaha topic while we're on.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, actually.
Oh, God. I don't know.
I'm just thinking, well, no, it's just your opinion, really. Because I've got mine. These polls are great. Yeah, it's good. Fantastic. It's good for sponsors. It's good for stats and that.
Do you think it should carry points?
But when it's still sitting duck against V4s in battles, man.
Yeah.
And with what happened at Assen when he keeps getting bullied out the way, like in front, in opening laps, I just think surely this still means the V4 is the right thing to go for, and to try and have it for even next year. Do you think that, or do you think is there any use in it? Because they've spent a lot of money on it, obviously.
They have. Now,
what would you wait till 27?
Now, Dovi, Andrea Dovizioso, yesterday, so Wednesday, tested the new V4 at Brno.
Yeah.
All day he was on the V4. All the other Yamaha riders were on the inline. Right, so it's just Dovi testing the V4 at the moment. He was. I don't know what stage they're at in development. Obviously, a few pods ago we had the sound from the V4, so we knew that they'd been testing it.
That's right.
There was a bit of conjecture as to whether or not they tested it at the end of last year, but because we thought we thought maybe that's Sepang because you can hear the start finish straight. You can hear the echo from the start finish straight.
Yeah, the nerd in me recognised
so
that.
maybe they did test it last year, but they must be in a relatively sort of advanced stage of testing it now if they're testing it for 2026. But the V4 engine, and then they both put fastest laps in. They both put hot laps in.
Lap times are a bit hushed, aren't they?
And the inline and the V4. There aren't any, but apparently the inline V4 that Alex Rins was using put a faster lap time in than the V4
doesn't surprise me
that Dovi was using.
Well, that's also distortion, isn't it? I mean, when was the last time Dovi tested competitively compared to Alex Rins, who got into Q2 the other day, albeit on the back of
But this is the thing that I wanted to say earlier on, is that I think that if we're going to see a Yamaha win this year, it's going to be at Brno.
I mean, I hope so. Those sweeping corners would point in the direction of it being. I mean, it's still there is still the odd long straight. It is very much the start and finish, and then turn one, and then another long straight because you've got the kink going into turn three. And that's it, really, at Brno. Then there's no real rest. It's a long lap as well.
It is a long lap. So we will talk about Brno in depth because we're going to Brno. I don't know if we told you. We're going to Brno. And by the way, when we're at Brno, we've discussed today, we are going to be posting every single day that we're there, hopefully. But yeah, anyway, so we're going to Brno. We'll be there We'll be in Brno itself on Tuesday. We'll be in Prague on Tuesday. Then we're there for Wednesday.
That's right.
Anyway, the thing that we will be talking about is obviously the lap times then. And now, obviously, we noticed earlier on, didn't we, that there's only going to be about 16 MotoGP laps.
Moto3, yeah.
Sorry, about 3 laps.
Yeah.
And about 20 MotoGP laps. Yeah. Now, if you look at Brno, it's one of the longest circuits on the calendar now. You look back to John Zarco's pole time of 2020, that was a 1:55.4.
Was it not Zarco got pole there?
Zarco, that's what I said.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was Zarco.
Yeah.
That was his sponsor Armoured Coat, was it?
Yes. and Brad Binder won the race,
That's right.
and that was a 1:56 was his fastest lap time.
So it's only 4 seconds a lap faster than Silverstone. Really.
Silverstone, yeah, and it's basically Mugello. I think it's Mugello, Cota, and then a bit faster than Silverstone. Yeah. So anyway, that's going to be really interesting. I'm really, really looking forward to what the Yamaha can do at Brno. They also seem to be getting a lot more track time there. I mean, I know it was a private test. I don't actually know any other manufacturers that were there at the Brno private test. I think it might have just been the concessions guys like Honda and Yamaha. But I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything from Honda that they were testing. Oh, no, sorry, no, I have. That's bollocks. Luca Marini. Good news. Luca Marini is back on the bike and was testing at the private test at Brno.
It's the one rider I did not see at Brno testing. That's good news.
Luca Marini's back on the bike and he was testing the RC213V at the private test at Brno yesterday. Yeah. So, yes, I'm talking out my arse. There were definitely Yamaha and Honda at Brno, not just Yamaha. Fingers crossed we'll be seeing some really impressive results from Yamaha and hopefully Honda as well, who seem to be doing really well at the moment. If Joan Mir could finish a race, unlike he did at Assen, where he didn't finish a race, but he was doing really well. I think in the sprint he crashed quite early on, so I can't really say that. But yeah. Anyway, fingers crossed. Yeah. But going back to Assen very briefly before we talk about a couple of bits of news and silly season stuff. Where are we now? Moreira in Moto2.
Yeah, he's looking really sharp now. Really permanently sharp at the front. I mean, I thought that would happen to Wanju as well after Aracon, but no, I think Moreira is a permanent front runner now, unless he really can't get on with one track later this year, which probably will happen. But
yeah, I mean, so he's the first Brazilian to win, not just in Moto2, but in the intermediate class.
Yeah.
So that's... I have done a bit of extensive research into this, and I couldn't find a single Brazilian that has won in the 250s or in Moto2.
Yeah.
So, kudos to him. Obviously, it's his first win in Moto2 as well. We very, very nearly saw him win at Aragon, but was pipped at the line by Onshu, running around the outside of him, which was incredible.
Good Lord.
Good Lord. Why do children have to scream?
Just be quiet.
Just shut up. Shouldn't you be in school? Anyway.
In July.
Anyway, so, Moreira winning from pole position. He just looks the full package, doesn't he? And he's so cool, calm and collected. He's got this kind of Pekka Bagnaia kind of aura about him, where he's very sort of like, it was a good race. Yeah,
but while being a bit more cheeky.
It was a good race. We tried really hard, and next time we need to try harder, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, cool, see you. And like, all right, fucking hell, you just won a race. I thought you'd be more like, yeah! I thought you'd be more like Jake Dixon, where he's like fucking crying and like lying down on the floor and screaming and all that sort of stuff.
I think he's going to become the next Pope because he's won a race or something. But I do like Jake's exuberance. But I think saying Moreira's a bit like Pecco is accurate to a degree, but I think he's probably a bit more cheeky than that. I think he's got potential to, in the future, win more fans, but we'll see. But it's looking good. And obviously, the silly season is that Yamaha potentially move him next year to replace Binder or Oliveira in Pramac, or move him to the Pramac Moto2 squad first next year. The thing is, I'm not sure I want to leave a Taltrans for that squad. What's the point? What's he going to gain from that? Plus, they're running Boscoscuras right now. Yeah. What if he doesn't like the bike? And then I'm like, actually, no, he wants someone else now. Isn't he? Yeah, because one bad year can stop things. So
exactly. I mean, look at Garcia, for example. Amazing year last year. We were rumoured for a MotoGP rather. We're like, not quite yet. Not going to just give him another year. And now he's lost his job entirely. Yeah. You know, Joe Roberts. I mean, that's another bit of news is that Joe Roberts has kept his seat for next year. He's extended his contract until the end of 2026 with the OnlyFans American Racing. Yeah. So that's good news. But look at Joe Roberts. I mean, he was rumoured for the Trackhouse Aprilia spot. Didn't get that, and then was just sort of like, I'm going to get injured now. Harsh thing to say. Anyway, let's fucking move on before I say something stupid.
A few minutes,
a few minutes left. Then we'll move on to something else. But what else have I got for you? Oh, Moto2. Just before we finish with Moto2, Ivan Ortola. What a weekend!
Yeah, not too bad.
What a weekend! I mean, I know he crashed at the last minute in the race. Yeah, but that was annoying.
The progress has been made, though. But it's clearly there.
Topped practice. Did really well in qualifying. Straight through to Q2.
Yeah.
Did really well in qualifying. I think Ivan Ortola is starting to show that he's going to have a really, really amazing Moto2 career.
Well, he's got the team that's basically, they can win championships.
Yeah.
Can't they? So,
already proved that to us.
Exactly. Yeah. So, he's in the right place. And I think that was a matter of time. A bit like Onshu, it will be right. And then obviously Guevara will get there too. So the future of Moto2 for rookies coming up is a nightmare.
Oh, what did you think of this whole thing with, going to Moto3 now, this whole thing that Rueda did during qualifying, where he set the fastest lap time, and then deliberately ran out onto the gravel to try and induce a yellow flag.
Yeah, it's I've seen either something like that, or riders riding really slowly, or looking down at their bike, in like sector 1 or something. I don't care how it is, if it's that or what Rueda did. No. And so like the likes of what's his surname? Simon Crafar. Aren't stupid. The victim of all people can see through that. If they aren't, they bloody should do. It's so obvious. The thing is,
pretty obvious.
You won't be able to stop it forever, because if you accidentally tag onto a rider, it can be worth 6-7 tenths a lap.
Yeah.
In Moto3 with no horsepower, it's punching a massive hole through the air. Of course, you're going to want to try and do it. If you can get away with it, why wouldn't you? But it's just dangerous.
Really dangerous. But it was also really, really stupid, very unsportsmanlike, and it's definitely the sort of thing that we're seeing Simon Crafar crack down on. In fact, I'm surprised we didn't really see any kind of sanctions for Rueda. But I mean, what was the worst thing that was going to happen to him? Pit lane start, and he's already won from the back row after his penalty at Silverstone.
Assen's probably a track where you could maintain it, bring it back anyway.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, great win from him. It was a very peculiar end to the race with that horrific crash in the last lap, which involved was it Furizato, Fernandez, and the person who came off the worst through it was Luca Lanetta, who got his spine run over by another bike.
That was so bloody scary, man. That was so bloody scary, and I'm so glad that
thankfully everyone
walked away with their lives.
Well,
frankly,
I wouldn't say walked away. Lanetta.
Sorry, that was the wrong terminology, folks. But that's fib and tib, isn't it?
Yeah, fibula and tibula, I think, is broken. So hopefully Luca Lanetta is on the mend. If anyone watches this and knows him, wish him all the best, because that was really, really horrible. And he's so lucky that it's not worse than it is. But hopefully we'll see Luca Lanetta back at some point, because he's really shown form this year, and he's an amazing rider. So hopefully we'll see him back. So let's just quickly wrap it up.
We need to wrap this up because we've got another pod to record any minute. We haven't really spoken about the winner. By the way, well done, Mark. Anyway, moving on.
Oh yeah, well done, Mark.
No.
Anyway,
the fact that you can do that, I think it probably was easily quicker. It looked quicker.
It looked quicker, didn't it? Yeah. Well done, Bez.
Yeah, it really is.
Well done, Bez.
Good news. And do you know what? This makes Jorge Martin look even more silly right now, frankly.
Yeah.
To literally saying no to a bike that's better than the Honda right now.
What a donk.
I mean, yes, you could argue the money will be a lot more than Piaggio Group Aprilia can afford to pay him. And you might think, Honda will be more equipped for new rules, R&D. Yep. But then you still have a contract and you're going to look an idiot in court, because I think Aprilia will win in court.
Yeah. Any day of the week.
I think so anyway, but I could be wrong. I don't know much about that. But if the contract stipulates that, he's in trouble. It's going to cost him a lot of money.
Yes. Few win bonuses for Martin going down the drain. Right, we're going to wrap it up there.
We're there, are we? Yep.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
Pretty much. So, this episode is going to go out this week. And then next week, we're going to be releasing our interview with a guest. We'll also be doing a bit of Sachsenring preview. And Then I'm on holiday. My holiday starts. I finish work at 6 o'clock on the Saturday before Brno, and then I've got Sunday, Monday off before we travel on the Tuesday. So I'm really buzzing for that.
Smug bastard.
We'll get a pod in then. And we're gonna do our proper in depth Pontus perspective for a round that we've not been to for 4 years, and we're going to be talking so much about Brno. Will probably piss you all off, and it's a bit like me at work with Glastonbury. It's going to be absolutely incredible. But we'll see you all then. We'll see you all next week for the interview that we've got planned, which we're recording in about 5 minutes' time. And but love to you all. Thanks very much for watching. See you all again next week. Toodle pip.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.